welcome to the Sober Friends podcast. My name is Matt J, and if you are in the place for sober curiosity, wanting some recovery, whether you're new or old, you are in the right place. And today we're joined by Emily Redondo. She is the author of Wife, Mother, Drunk, an intergenerational memoir of loss and love. This is such an awesome story, and I'll put a link in for the book itself. But this is about motherhood, trauma passed down through generations, a messy, imperfect road to recovery. Emily, this was incredible, your story here, and I think our listeners are going to love this. Emily, welcome to the Sober Friends podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. This will be great.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here too. So give us a high level. One of the things that I heard in your hook that I'm like, oh my freaking God, is you walking into rehab with a breast pump and like pumping and dumping milk out of your breast that has got booze in it. That's a way to kick us off.
How about that? Well, my son was, he was basically a newborn when I went to rehab with the breast pump. But yeah, that's what I would kind of do. And as a matter of fact, he was my fourth. So it was like, instead of, hiding booze around the house, which of course I did that, but I was hiding formula because I always breastfed my kids. And now I knew like, I can't breastfeed Spencer. So I would, if I drank during the day, that's what I would do, pump and dump and then give him formula.
Formula's expensive. Yeah. We had to supplement. I've got kids that are large.
Mine are too, but it was a nightmare. It was a total nightmare. So, God.
How do you get to a point where you don't realize that that's a problem? You're cognizant enough that I cannot give my kid this breast milk. I got to secretly have formula, but you're still continuing.
Oh, I knew it was a problem. And that was really towards the kind of end of like the last, I call it my blue period because it was just so horrible. But, I knew it was a problem. And I also was kind of so physically addicted to the alcohol that I couldn't not drink. And Spencer, when I had Spencer, I had 3 kids, 5 and under, and an elementary school, almost, middle school daughter, stay at home. It's like, how am I going to detox myself? I can't really just check out for a few days because, I had a newborn, a toddler, a preschooler, and I was just really on survival mode. And I woke up every day thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. All I need is just a little bit so that I don't like have a seizure or, have like my heart going crazy. I mean, it was really bad. And I needed a medical detox, even though like I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to try to wean myself off of this. And I actually did that many times, but this particular time that I went to rehab, like I needed to get out of I can't do it at home those first few couple weeks with small kids like that. It's too hard. So.
No. And how present can you be this is obviously, we're talking rational stuff here. You can't think about that at the time, but how present can you be as a mom with little kids like that and progressing to the point where you need medical detox?
Hindsight is really dangerous, I think, because at the time, I think that there is, when it comes to mothers, there's this idea that like an alcoholic mother is, passed out on the couch and, kids are walking over and picking up their beer and they're dirty and, that kind of stuff. And, it's really not like that. I wasn't really drinking to get obliterated. I
I don't think I think
Well,
that
and
way.
that's good, but I do
I
think
think
that there
like
kind of
now,
is this like idea. Well, I know there is because I'm still getting, I had a write up done for a big, whatever, news organization. And the comments are just like, I know that stuff still exists, but
never read the
I mean,
comments.
I do
Rule number
think
one,
it's, I
social
do think
media
it's
articles, never
interesting.
read the
It's
comments.
sort of like nobody's going to say anything that I haven't already heard already at this
Right.
point. And, so I'm more kind of curious as to like how it was received and,
Right.
but yeah. So yeah, it was pretty terrible. I found out that I was pregnant with my son in a detox when I was detoxing from alcohol.
So you'd gone down this rodeo a little bit before you got to the point where, hey, I gotta
I
I
mean,
gotta do
yeah,
something more.
that was 2010. And the first time I got sober was in 2001. So yeah.
Yeah. See, it's not new. It just hit me there of that visual of, because I've had kids and I've seen my wife have to
Mm-hmm.
pump and freezing the breast milk. And I'm like, oh my God, the idea of having to pump this off because in a sense it's toxic is hard. I think now because of the COVID stuff that the idea of mommy with a drinking problem is like the wine mommies. I see that a lot where
Mm-hmm.
you see that this is like the normal and mommy might be a little bit of a drinker, but it's not always falling down drunk. I think that's what I kind of
Well,
see
and
now.
when it comes, I mean, then it's like tolerance comes into play here because I wasn't really falling down
Yes.
drunk either. And it doesn't matter. I was drinking as much as somebody who's a normal drinker would have been like,
Mm-hmm.
out of commission. But wine was my drug of choice. And,
It was
and I
mine too.
drank it like a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the wine mom. I never drank in public, never used a wine glass or something like that. This was like literal closet drinking from,
Mm-hmm.
really from the very beginning. So,
Let's let's back up a little bit because another thing that kind of hooked me in is the idea of you kind of came from generations of addiction from the women in your family. Now that intrigued me because I'm kind of the first person in my family who found recovery that realized looking back, this was handed down to me. Tell me what you feel comfortable with sharing a little bit about the background.
yeah. And I will say that, it wasn't just from the women, it was from women and men. And,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about like what we inherit from our parents and grandparents and whatnot, it's not just as easy as like, oh, well, my DNA says that I'm very prone to get an
Mm-hmm.
addiction. It's like how we respond to things, how we react to things,
Yes.
and how we don't talk about this and we don't mention that and we don't have feelings and or show them. And I think that that's really what I found interesting when I was writing the book because both of my parents were alcoholics
Mm-hmm.
and as far as my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family, like all the men are veterans. All the men are military men.
Yeah.
My dad was in Vietnam. My grandfathers were both in World War II, front line. And one of them was a POW in Japan, and one was a POW in Germany. Yeah. And also they come from a farming lifestyle, like the farmstead. So these women had to kind of pick up and do everything. The men come back. I mean, there was no such thing as PTSD.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. This is classic bad
right.
PTSD.
And then, there's also been, tragic, like my grandmother, when my grandfather died from, complications from being a POW, she was pregnant with her 8th child, and, small town. It's sort of like, okay, that's survival kind of living. She had a daughter, my aunt drowned at a camp. Yeah. And my mom nobody could talk about it. Nobody, how many ever years later, 40, could not even say her name. There were never a conversation. It's like the funeral happens and then we don't talk about it. And I've said this before, but, my mom did not hear from my grandmother, who was a wonderful woman, but she never heard her mother say, "I love you," until my mom was in her 50s. And so these are kind of the things that pass on. But, all of these men, they dealt with their issues the best they could, right? And that was alcohol.
Right.
It's not like they had, conversations where they were, talking about it. And then, there's abuse and those kind of things, which is just all from, living hard lives. It was hard.
Yes.
Hard living.
I think a lot around, there are bad people. I think there's evil in the world. But a lot of the bad acts are the result of a sum of all the parts. That people do a lot of bad things because they had trauma, or they didn't have enough, or something else. There are those things that happen, and they kind of lead you to being prone to addiction. And so I look at that in families as people can be abusive verbally, physically, but they also are in an environment where they're not encouraged to treat those things, or we don't talk about it, which is sort of like you press on a balloon and something's going to pop out on the other side. And don't be surprised when it does in an unexpected way.
Yeah.
And it feels a lot like that with addiction with families.
Yeah, I do. I agree. And I also think that, when you're talking about, trauma or abuse, a lot of times when you're in it, it's normalized. That's just, this is just how I grew up, with a raging father. And then, I didn't know what alcohol was, or that this was what was causing him to act that way. I was just scared. And then my mom was like more in tune with him than me and my brother. And so, we weren't really protected because she was busy protecting herself. And I say that without meaning any blame or anything like that, but this was just the way our house worked. And it wasn't until I was much older that I was like, gosh, maybe this isn't normal. But, it's those kind of things. Like, I've had a lot of trauma. And at the time, if somebody had said, "Oh, you're having trauma," I'd be like, "What? Get the heck out of here. No, I'm not." I'm fine. So, yeah.
You only live in one household. It's not, unless you're going over a friend's house where it's quote unquote normal, you only know your own existence.
Yeah. And I think even if you're having sleepovers with birthday parties and those kind of things, you don't know the dynamic of the family. or it's just like, oh, they're different. Okay, but this is how we are.
Yes. Yeah, I can really relate to this. It was later on, especially being a parent and doing it different, that I realized, oh my God, I was subjected to things that I never
Yeah,
should have been.
but even like we become, they call it an alcoholic family for a reason, because I knew without anybody, coming straight out and teaching me this, that we don't talk about this stuff to anybody. My dad's behavior, we don't talk about it anywhere at all. And, I think that I was a freshman or maybe a sophomore in high school the first time that I said to an adult, hey, I think my dad might be an alcoholic. And we're so good at playing the part that her first response was, oh, Emily, come on. It was like, she kind of was like, she didn't believe me at first. And then she started asking these questions like, well, how much does he drink? I mean, I don't know how much he drinks, but I remember at that conversation that I was picturing our garbage can at night in the kitchen and like mentally adding up how many beer cans were in there. And, this was Texas where like my dad would, be drinking beer on the way home from work. And this was like I don't know when, but there wasn't really a law at the time. But so I was kind of doing that. And I was like, I don't know, maybe 10. And I didn't know if I was getting in trouble saying that. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, I would say the whole drinking on the ride home, that's a ding, ding, ding for me.
Yeah. Stopping at the bar or, getting one of those, tall boy beers and drinking on the way home. Yeah.
If you remember that time, how hard was that to open your mouth in freshman year and say, I'm going to trust somebody and say, I think my dad has a problem?
I don't really remember actually what made me do that at the time, other than our house was like a war zone. And I think that, there is a part of me, no matter what, we love our parents, so maybe I thought, oh, maybe he'll change, maybe I don't know, but I really don't know why I said it. And it was actually just a complete and total nightmare afterwards. Just based on, the time that it was. I think it was like around 89 or 90. And, this woman ended up talking to somebody. She was like a youth counselor who was over helping me with a school project.
Okay.
And then, like with church kind of a thing. But anyway, it got back to my mom. And so my mom was like, oh my God, okay, well, we're going to take you to Alateen and I'm going to go to Al-Anon. And so we would sneak off in the evening without telling my dad specifically where we were going. And of course he found out. And this problem that he had then became, well, Emily's a problem. Like I was arch enemy number 1 and my mom was arch enemy number 2. And
the little high school girl, she's the problem.
Yeah. I was 14 and then, it was not good. Yeah. I remember hearing him say in a fight with my mom in our house, that I needed to live somewhere else. Get her out of here. I don't care where she goes. Send her to a relative. Send her to boarding school. Who cares? And which boarding school is really funny because, of course it was devastating at the time, but like we were super like paycheck to paycheck kind of family. Like, how are you going to get her to boarding school? But it scared me. I felt like, oh my God, I screwed up. I'm a terrible person.
I can totally relate to
Really.
this. My story's not the same, but there's a lot of similarities there that you blame yourself. It's the secrets that I can really identify with. Those secrets are stressful, especially knowing you want to dig into them. You're curious and it's not healthy, and yet you have to tiptoe around this stuff. That's a lot of stress and a lot of energy.
Yes, it is. And there was a lot of tiptoeing in my house. I mean, my mom's drinking, which I really didn't see as much growing up. I see it like looking back. But at the time, my dad was just the kind of that stereotypical raging alcoholic who like, don't set off dad, don't set him, that kind of a thing. And
I just stopped thought like
and
that.
like sitting around the table at dinner was just torture. I mean, it was just like the worst thing ever. And my mom was sort of like the numbing drunk, she'd just get quiet and glaze over, and yeah.
It really sounds like it was her outlet too.
Oh yeah.
That she's going through trauma, but she didn't have another outlet.
Well, it's interesting because like wine is everywhere, alcohol is everywhere, and we don't learn, like she didn't learn any coping skills growing up. I mean, so yeah, it makes sense. And actually, when I was 15, my mom stopped me. This is in the book actually, and said, like she was very emotional and cryy, and like I just didn't want to deal with her stuff because I was dealing with my own. And she stopped me in the kitchen and said, Emily, I have something I have to tell you. Your dad's not the only alcoholic in the family. And I was so mad. I felt like, how dare you? I mean, I felt so betrayed. Like I have nobody now. Like, how could you? Yeah. So that was, here's like my trusted adult. And now she's telling me that, she's one of them. And it was, I don't know if we can say bad words on this, but
you can say
it
plenty
was
of bad
really
words.
fucked up. It was so really, yeah.
But not just for you, for her too. That must have been such an emotional moment that in a moment she felt comfortable and had to talk to somebody and had to tell her teenage daughter.
And I was pissed. I'm sure I stormed out.
Well, being pissed at like 15 as a teenager is a normal emotion. But if I'm hearing you, empathizing your situation, you got something taken away from you. Oh my God, the one person who was with me in this, protecting me from my dad, or at least commiserating, she's one of them too. It's like finding out in like The Thing, like they're infected too. They're one of them. And now I'm all alone. Mm-hmm. And you don't have the skills at 15 or as a teenager to manage that alone. Maybe as an adult you do, but as a kid, it's like, I'm trapped. I can't go pay rent somewhere else.
And, then she's like, well, I still want to take you to Alateen. And, that was kind of like our thing to do. Like we were allies. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of like, fuck you. No, what? I'm going to go and what am I supposed to, because they were actually in the same building. It was like Al-Anon here. Yeah. And I don't think they had an AA meeting at the same time, but sometimes they do, like they're running side by side. And it was just, and she was also crying all the time. And I was like, I'm the kid. I should be crying. It's just like, yes. but yeah, we're all like fucked up and codependent. So I'm thinking I need to
Yeah.
console her. I need to make her feel better.
Mm-hmm. I can identify there. I've found a whole bunch of ways where I'm the consoler, even when I'm hurt. I jump into that role because it's a comforting thing, but it's too much. It's too much for a teen to take on for their parent.
Yeah.
That messes you up. Gosh. So you ended up down this road anyways.
Yeah.
What did that look like where you have this family, you've seen people drink, it went bad, and yet you ended up down that path anyways?
Well, my path didn't really start with alcohol. My path started with food first, which I say, you know, I was eating my feelings. And then once, you know, I was in high school, I went into the eating disorder category. So it's kind of weird because I'm sure that I would have become, you know, I would have gotten hit with the drinking addiction had it just been that very early, like in my teens. But I was so preoccupied with, oh God, like how exhausting, calorie counting and fat grams and all this kind of stuff that, you know, beer was like going to make me, or any alcohol was going to make me fat. And, you know, I was so caught up in, oh, well, I have value if I'm pretty, so I got to stay pretty or I got to stay thin. And so drinking wasn't my number one thing. Now, when I did go out, like in college, I mean, I'd get, you know, smashed. It wasn't like, let's go out and have one. You know, what's the point of that anyway? But, and then when so I got married, got divorced, got married again, got divorced. And in between those two, when I was 23, I was not married and dating and ended up pregnant. So I have a daughter, Shelby, now in my story. And I was still trying to graduate college. And she was maybe 1 year old. And I remember coming home from the commute and thinking, you know, it's Friday. People like me who've had a stressful week, I mean, and I was of legal age, like, I'm just gonna, why can't I drink? Like, you know, I had this picture in my head of what it would be like. And I stopped at a gas station, got a 4-pack of wine, and I brought it home. But I was living with my mom at that time period. And so I'm thinking in my head, I don't want to concern her. I don't want to drink in front of her. She's going to go like all like, oh, Emily kind of thing. So I hid it in my bedroom and I got a little 4-pack of these mini wines and I drank them or, you know, drank one and then I'd go back out and, you know, Shelby had been put to bed and it was just me and my mom watching TV. And I ended up, I mean, in a heartbeat, you know, back for another one. And I remember thinking then, that was like in 1999, I was thinking, this isn't good, Emily. This is not good. This is really fucked up way to drink. And I still did it. And yeah.
I'm a big believer that there's alcoholism and other behaviors. Once you started talking about, well, I ate the food, I eat alcoholically. I do everything alcoholically. And it's just like that addiction. It may focus on one item or another, but it's a whole thing going on in the brain. And that kind of tells me you had a problem. You had a problem before.
That's what I'm saying.
If you're already in the mindset of, I'm going into a closet to drink, that immediately that's the thinking's there. I'm a big believer that there is a genetic component, but there's also a learned thing.
That's what I'm saying.
I realized at one point
definitely.
I was drinking like my parents. I was doing the exact, you learn, you see the behavior and you learn how to do it along with the predisposition the predisposition, I think, is just that
Yeah.
greases
And
the
you know,
slids. The greases yeah,
slide,
slides,
I don't know. I would say pan. I would say
the
pan,
railings.
but you know,
Yeah,
no. But and you know, when I had that eating disorder, right then and there, that was. I mean, that's so sneaky. You know, like okay, I got to
yeah.
sneak off and make myself throw up, and then act like nothing happened. You know, so it was like that was. Yeah, that was that. And then, you know, I'm doing that kind of behavior, and then these major life traumas start popping up for me. And based on what I learned growing up, which was like no coping skills really, I don't talk about it. I don't want to deal with it. I just, you know, yeah, I just kind of pretend and keep secrets and hide it and you know, drink my feelings.
What do you think about acting? Do you think you became a good actress?
Absolutely. I think I learned that very young. Very, very young. Yeah.
It's funny that we learn to pretend.
Yeah.
It helps put
Well, and I
barriers
think
up.
it also makes it even harder to, you know, especially when we're younger, we're so good at it that number one, it makes us feel like we're the only ones because I might be sitting across from somebody else who's pretending for the exact same reasons I am, and I can't see it. So there's that. And then there's also, you know, if somebody is going to be maybe intervention, you know, whatever the word is, but in my high school or, you know, wherever, you can't see it. You can't, you know, and we make it that way. It's very, yeah.
So it sounds like in and out of detox and attempts for quite a long period of time.
Yeah. Well,
What
so
do
I
you
got
think?
sober in 2002 after like
Mm-hmm.
a short failed stint. And I didn't drink again. I relapsed when I went to, our whole family moved to North Carolina from Texas. And I sort of lost everything that I knew. And my husband was working super long hours, like from before the kids were up until like, you know, 12, 13 hours
Mm-hmm.
later. And I was home by myself with these kids. And you know, it's like, I don't know how to make this better.
Yeah, you don't have the
I mean,
support
I
anymore.
had nothing. And I also had this idea that, oh, you know what? Women do this all the time. Like, this is
Yep.
part of the deal. Like, you get married. I mean, how many wives move somewhere because of their husband's job or, you know, this or that? And what, so
Mm-hmm.
I need to be able to do this. I can't fail. This is so normal. And yeah, next thing I know, I'm drinking another one of those 4 packs in a Walmart parking lot, feeling like, thank God, as I did it.
Thank God because you
Yeah,
got some relief.
yeah,
Wow. Yeah, this is if you're listening and you're thinking maybe you have a problem, this is pretty normal thinking of I need a release. And then sometimes it's like I might think I'm doing the wrong thing, but at least I got something to put the pain away or the secret or the
yeah.
thinking in the head, that mind, that the devil
Well,
on your
and I
shoulder
think
telling you
also that,
lies.
you know, because I grew up around AA, my mom, you
Mm-hmm.
know, went to AA. And I mean, I would go to speaker meetings with her, you know, we were doing the thing. It was very normal. Her whole friend circle, we'd have people, you know, it was just kind of, I knew so much. And in my head, when I had that relapse, I was thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going to call this a slip, and nobody really needs to know about it, but it's just going to, and then tomorrow, it's done. It's over. I'm just doing a quote unquote slip. This is not a relapse. And man, yeah, we're liars and connivers, but we do it to ourselves too.
Yes, that's
Major.
where the most
Yeah.
lies happen.
Because I thought, you know what? If I could just have a break and not feel so overwhelmed and like I'm dying, I mean, I was just in this horrible state. I just needed a break for a second, just give me this. And then tomorrow's going to be normal. I'm going to go back to normal.
I'm not doing frontline leadership anymore in call centers, but I used to use a lot of recovery logic there, coaching people. And there was somebody who I found out was in recovery, and she would get on the thermometer, it would get into the red, and everything that I taught her would not happen properly on the phone. And we used to talk a lot about, I got to get you to the point where you never get into the yellow, because I can guide you through as long as you're in the green. But once you get into the red, all is lost, because now you're just going on brainstem. And I think that is sort of a common thing with us, that in recovery, you have to be sure to use those tools, never to get above a yellow, because once you get into the red, that's when the drink becomes attractive. And it's hard for me to say no, because now the pressure's built up too much. And I see that in you in that parking lot. They'll move, your husband's not there, got the kids, I don't have the support system.
And I had been,
You're
and
in
I
the
had
red now.
been to, like the nearby AA group, it was like really great setup. It was in the basement of a church, had that musty smell. But even the change from one end of the country to a different part of the country, it was so different. And it actually made me more homesick. I was like, these aren't my people. They don't do it right. you know? But I also think that, because I had, more time behind me, and that was like a big relapse, that there is this point where we're further into it, meaning we've had relapse after relapse. And I can say with complete certainty that there were times where I did not want to drink, and I had sobriety, built up, maybe, anything like a couple months, whatever, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. And I could not stop myself in that very moment. I mean, I didn't even think about it. I'd pick something up off the shelf. I would take it to the register. I'd turn around, go to the store's bathroom and chug the whole thing, and then walk out and be like, oh my God, what the fuck have I done? So the idea that, which I've been institutionalized 20 times, and I cannot even count how many times I've heard, well, the relapse starts before the first drink, And if you're going to use hindsight, I mean, maybe, but there were times where I was like, I mean, no, actually, I don't know. I just think that there's so much focus on re-examining something that is just, part of it is the yellow getting into the red sort of thing. But then also part of it is like, it's my fucking brain. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And
So this also goes into you embracing being a failure, not a failure.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and what that means to me. Because this, or what it means to you, I should say. Because it seems like we're kind of dipping our finger into that phrase.
Yeah, I think it's also, I heard, I said something the other day was like, also, it's kind of the same as being a trier. But it's, if I'm failing at something, then, it means that I'm at least, I'm still going. I keep going.
Yeah.
And there were, there's all sorts of stuff in my life now that I am, in some good sobriety that I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to learn probably by failing a few times along the way. And that's just,
Yeah.
it's so natural. It's so normal. And it's sort of something I'm trying to teach my kids too, is like, but it doesn't mean anything. It just means, oh, okay, well, so if that didn't work, then I'm going to move on and try something else. And I think that there's so many benefits to doing something the way you think it might work. And then finding out, oh, you know what, that was an epic fail. And there's no shame to it. It was just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, doesn't mean it's not frustrating, but it means, okay, now I'm just going to try something else. I'm going to try it anyway. And I think there's something very liberating and adventurous about doing, having that kind of a mindset that, I have this little workshop in my garage, and the motto is mistakes will be made, because, it is. And nothing ever goes perfect the first time. I mean, maybe, but not for me. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there who can do it.
It's not for anybody. There are no original ideas out there. I mean, there had to be a lot of failure to get to flight. Wright brothers didn't start flying immediately. There's no idea that's not based on something else. And as a perfectionist, boy, am I bad at this. Get good of, if it didn't work out, what did you learn? I'm good with my kids with that. It could be small, like we lost the game or we didn't play well. What did you learn from that? What do you think your part might have been? Where can you help your team? What did you learn in the fact that you guys lost? What can you take this from and use it for the next game? Something small like that. I screwed up at work. All right. What was the learning from that? What can I do differently next time? And I'm good at saying this to other people, not always great at myself. So it's a learning from me.
Yeah. And I think
but I think that's the right mindset.
I think it also helps to just not take ourselves so seriously.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. The other thing, I mean, my other mantra is I'm just not that big of a deal. I mean, sometimes it feels like, oh, they're going to be, I don't know what they'll think or what they'll say about this, or, I'm not that big of a deal. People just, and I like it that way,
what I have always helped people with public speaking or presentation is always, don't worry about it. They're not thinking of you.
Right.
They might not even be paying attention. And if they are, people don't like to see a train wreck. It makes them uncomfortable. So at best, they're rooting for you because they're uncomfortable at a train wreck. And at worst, they don't really give a shit anyways. So
and they'll forget about it, as soon as they pass it, they'll be on to something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much of it is, things that I had to learn the hard way, but that's okay. That's all right.
Writing a book is hard.
It was so hard. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. Talk about failure.
What made you do this?
I did it because of something actually you said at the very beginning of this podcast. Because I had gotten sober in 2016, and I was terrified. I was scared. I just knew that I was somebody, probably me, but maybe not me, was about to die. And I kind of looked at this life of mine and I'm like, how the hell did I end up like this? Like, what was it? I mean, because, I mean, in a lot of aspects, I'm kind of the worst case scenario, you know? It's like, what happened back there? How can I figure this out so that this doesn't, you know, I can't do it again? And because it wasn't like these big warning signs that, you know, everybody and their dog tell you about. It's something else. Like, what was sniveling in there that I didn't know? And so really it started off as an investigation, kind of. And I didn't have a timeline. I couldn't wrap my head around a timeline of any sort. And there was a lot of shit back there. And I just kind of needed to write that down. And then, I just started looking for kind of answers to questions of why. Like, but why? Like, where did that come from? And a lot of it was about me. The idea that, I mean, just so many different things. Like, why did I do that? Like, what else was going on, or what was going on with them, and why would I think this way? And I ended up turning it into a book. Really, the only goal I had was to tell the truth and to finish it. And anything else beyond that, I just left it out of my hands. And now I worked on it for a really long time, and then I really started digging into it about 8 years ago. And I've been doing it for over 8 years.
Wow. That's your heart and soul in your life, especially that long.
Is. Yeah. I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I did it. It's probably the hardest thing I've done for myself in my whole entire life.
I think getting sober is harder. So getting sober is the hardest thing I ever did. I have a friend, when I say I can't do this, he's like,
yeah, but I didn't really sign up to get sober. You know, that was like, you need to get sober. This is like something I voluntarily was like, I think I'm going to try to write a book. It's interesting because getting sober wasn't my issue. It was staying sober.
I think that's the thing for everybody. Sort of like losing weight. Mm-hmm. You can lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Can you keep it off? You can get sober.
Yeah.
But can you get through life sober? That's hard. Really hard. That's why a lot of people fail. Most people don't stay sober.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on behind that drinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Emily, I'm glad you spent the 8 years to write this book. One, I think there needs to be more role models for women. I think especially in recovery, it does feel male dominated. I mean, especially if you go to a meeting, it's like all guys there. So there's not enough for women. But also if you're a guy, it doesn't matter. Because even if you're not a mom and you're not a woman and you didn't have Emily's story, there's enough that I listen to. I'm like, I didn't have the same growing up, but oh my God, I can relate to that. Oh my God, I had that. Yep, I know that feeling. So Emily Redondo is the author of Wife, Mother, Drunk, an intergenerational memoir of loss and love. If you felt like we spoiled the book.
No way. No.
We didn't. We didn't even we could probably do a 3-parter on this because you didn't get to anything I wanted to get to.
We didn't get to anything you wanted to get to? Oh, God. I feel like a failure.
I've got this, and this.
I feel like a failure.
Absolutely not. You were great. Anybody who I have on, if you can talk and I can lay back, I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
I'm the
this is
same
good.
way. I love this kind of stuff. I do want to say this, that I think the book,
Yeah.
I could not find a book like the one I wrote. There's no self-help. There's no advice. There's no, join my whatever. It's just a memoir, pure memoir. And it has a lot of things in there where it was like, nobody ever says this. Nobody ever talks about this. I guess I'll do it. I'll be the one. And so there is a lot, there's a lot in it. And even if it's not your story, I'm pretty sure that just about everybody knows somebody who's gone through this type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The key to doing anything, especially if it's creative, what you just said, figure out the thing that you want, but doesn't exist. Like, I want a book that's like this, but I don't see it. That's when you know you got to write it.
Yeah. Just a true story. Just, let's not make addiction, alcoholism, whatever end you're on with it. Do we have to make it pretty? Because it's really not pretty. Yeah.
No, make it real.
That's right. And it's very real.
People want to see real. They want to identify with it, and they want hope at the end that there is a way out, and that even at the darkest of darkests, there's still the option
even
of light.
If you don't believe it in the moment. Just keep
there's
going.
Enough people who had more darkness than me who have found it. Yeah. And it ends up being a thing of hope. Oh, Emily, this is such a good conversation.
Same here, Matt. This was great. I mean, I could just keep chatting,
Well, I also have girls waiting to go to Dairy Queen.
Oh, okay. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to put the notes in where you can find the book. Put it in. You go down to the description. You'll see where you can get this book.
This is what it looks like.
I love the cover. I saw that.
I do too. This is my favorite part. I know you got to go. It's like this orange hardcover instead of white. I love it. It's my favorite color.
All right, Emily.
Absolutely. And, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving, you too. Happy
Absolutely.
holidays. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.